Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikkia Carter, and I'm based out of Washington State. So this gives you a little bit of a background on me. I came from inner city Baltimore. Baltimore is a city inside of the U.S. In Maryland that a lot of people come from. I came from a poor background, but I came into a bunch of different opportunities, which led me into the where I am today. So first, growing up poor, my father did try to make sure that we had as much as possible. One of the things that he did was he went and bought us a Tandy Color Computer 3s. Now, for those of you that remember Radio Shack, which has since died in the States for the most part, that used to be a pretty expensive piece of equipment, but my dad made sure that he got it for us. After that, when he got that, I realized that it came with a programming book, and the programming book was on BASIC. So I taught myself BASIC out of that book. And then I got another opportunity when I went to Poly, or Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, which is a magnet school or the top public school in the city. Might have been in the state. I'm not exactly sure, but I went to that school. And because I went to that school, they had the focus was science and engineering, but I also got an opportunity to do computer science again, which is basically what I'm in. I'm running a tech firm called NTC Tech. But at Poly, I got to take another basic class on programming in BASIC. I basically aced that class and was helping folks get their work done and all of that. Then I went to college. Got sidetracked a little bit, went to aerospace engineering for a second, and then I was like, hold up, let me go back to computer science. So I graduated with a computer science degree. I worked for government, and then I started working for a contractor. And this was the time when I was working for government as far as a military and for the Navy. And contracts were starting to, the government was starting to cancel some of the contracts. So I kind of moved around trying to get away from getting cut, but I eventually ended up at a contractor, and I eventually did get cut at that last contractor. But at that time, I ended up deciding to go out of the government contractor space into a different space, still has government contracting in it, and that's the consulting space. So I started at Booz Allen Hamilton. Booz Allen Hamilton is a company of all consultants. So as a consultant, I was a dev, started out developing in mostly Microsoft. Then when I got to Booz, though, I switched technologies. I became very popular. So I was able to get jobs pretty easily as a consultant in Booz. But then I found out how much they were charging for me and how much I was actually getting paid. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to start my own company. So that's where my first Microsoft partner company came from. There was some happenstance in there, but that could be for a later show. But anyway, after that company, I ran it for about 7 years. Then I sold it and went to a partner. Things didn't work out, so I went to a different partner. And around this time, I started applying for Microsoft. I got hired at Microsoft, so I worked there for about 4 years. During that 4 year time frame, there was a lot of tensions that were coming up, racial tensions and everything in the U.S. So like a lot of my brothers and sisters, there was a lot of feelings after George Floyd's murder. So I started having feelings. I was still at Microsoft. I started having feelings about not wanting to do the job that I was doing then, which was looking after technical folks as a technical person, leading them worldwide. I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to do something that was more impactful. But while I was making that decision, the great wet layoffs happened. I got laid off from Microsoft. Actually, my husband also, he got laid off because he's also in tech. He got laid off from a partner. So I got laid off first, started NTC Tech. And then my partner, my husband, joined me as a partner, as one of my partners, my co-CEO. And our mission for NTC Tech is one that is empowering for our community as Africans around the world. So we have a tech company where we're focused on providing tech solutions, but the way that we provide those solutions is through our tech team that's in Ghana, that we manage, and that we mostly live there most of the year with them to, keep the management going, help with the hiring, making sure all the client projects are going well, et cetera, et cetera. But it's been a real adventure, and it's continuing. We have so far 3 Ghanaians on our payroll. So that is kind of the beginning of how my career, how I went from poverty to less poverty to becoming someone that was more affluent. Then kind of stopping that a couple of times to start a business like right now, where we're in our second year. We completed our first year, so we're in our second year.
What an incredible story. Just listening to you speak reminds me so much of my formative years. So I grew up in Zimbabwe, became a first-generation coder in 1986, programming computers in BASIC, Pascal, COBOL when computers were starting. So everything you're saying is music to my ears. And it was really my dad who saw that technology was the future. He didn't even know what a computer was, but when I was making a choice to get a job,
Same.
He said it's a cross between an adding machine and a typewriter. So my father was a chartered accountant, and those are the 2 pieces of technology that he knew. It's actually beautiful to hear your story. Now, you have been through a lot in your career. Tell us some of the key milestones that led you to make this decision to create your own consultancy company. What were the things that you had to do to get this company in place?
Yeah. So to get it in place, well, first of all, having a Microsoft partner company, but a company years before that, setting up a company, even though it was in a different state, because I was in Virginia at that time, I'm in Washington State now. I already had that know-how. So the setup was, a little bit different because it's a different state, but setting up the company was easy. The challenge came in where, well, first you have your startup where you're trying to decide where you're going. You're trying to make sure you nail down all of your plans. You make sure that whatever initial crew that you have is on the same page with you, and you go marching off towards this big grand goal. And our big grand goal was, like I said, to make sure that our community became strengthened through tech. Since tech was what we did, we knew we could help with helping our community get more technological, but also helping that money flow in our community better through tech. So, we had to go through some figuring out, since we want to do this, where would be our biggest impact? We first
Right.
looked at the US. We were like, kind of saturated. We've already tried things when we had our previous Microsoft partner company to expand tech into our different communities in the US, which kind of floundered because again, it's kind of saturated. So then we
Right.
were like, where else can we look? Where else? Who else? We're all over the place. Who else? Africa. Yes, Africa. Let's look at Africa. So we did our soul searching and our research, on our based on our family, based on what we wanted to accomplish, based on the political scene, based on the economics going on. We looked at a bunch of different countries in Africa. And then we made our decision, and Ghana was basically the decision for our first place to go. Although now we're starting to get some inquiries from Nigeria, people doing stuff in Nigeria and Benin. We figured Ghana is, first of all, asking for us to come back home.
Yes.
Secondly, they have a big tech boom right now that's going on. They're in the beginning stages, so we're coming in at the right time. But they also have the tech talent. And then, of course, the government is stable and their dollar stable. So,
wow. Now, in today's digital landscape, data security is a major concern. How does NTC Tech address and optimize data security for its clients?
Yeah, well, that is one of our bread and butters. So we have a couple of bread and butters, or a couple of things that we focus on, and data security, data period, is one of the things we focus on, making sure that your folks can work together on that data, that it's secure, and that you can make the best business decisions and organizational decisions that you need to make out of that data if you're a leader. So we help with the security aspect by using tools that help with controlling access. So making sure people internally can get to the things that they need to get to, but not get to anything they shouldn't get to, or get to it at the appropriate level. Like maybe they should have full access to be able to modify this thing or delete it. But in this other place, maybe they only have access only to view. Maybe to download a document. So that type of varied access control for internal as well as for external, because every organization usually works with somebody externally, whether it's your clients, it's volunteers, it's other vendors, it's partners, whatever. You're working with somebody else outside. So being able to share that data, the appropriate data at the appropriate level externally is another thing we do. Then we also look at things like data loss prevention and information protection, things where we can kind of like prevent certain data from going out via email, do like a data loss prevention, like say flagging for credit cards or social security numbers. From the information protection, flagging certain things as a record so it can't be deleted, or it has to, once somebody deletes it, maybe it migrates itself to a different spot, something like that. So there's a bunch of different things that we do to help make sure that your data is secure, but it's also usable.
That's excellent. Now, can you explain the importance of business process automation and how NTC Tech's solutions help organizations streamline their processes?
Yeah. So everybody has processes. Everybody. I have a process for, making a sandwich. Everybody has processes that they go through. They go through step by step a certain thing to get to a certain thing. So businesses, of course, organizations, business, whether you're for profit or nonprofit, is no different, except it tends to be more complex because now you have more people involved and there's usually more at stake. Like if I don't get my sandwich right, I'm not going to die. But if I lose this client contract, it may be a major blow to my company. So there may be things that you need to do, like getting sending out notifications, getting approvals, things like that. So we work with customers to discover that process. And then we make sure we refine it, because I don't know about you, but somebody might be like, the process is this. And someone else is like, the process is this. And someone else is like, well, the process is this and that. But nah, y'all got the middle part wrong. So we get everybody in a room. We make sure that what the process actually is. Then we refine it, get rid of all of the extra steps, unneeded, stuff that's in there. And then we optimize it, make sure that it's going to work for the future state, so that we don't build something that'll work now and then 2 weeks later you're like, you probably should have added this extra step that I didn't think about.
Yes.
And then we automate that. And then after we automate it, so that all those people that are involved, the process walks itself through. Everybody can see where the process is because of a dashboard where you can go to and see where each thing is, who it's sitting with at that moment. So if you're a manager, maybe you need to go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, or they can also get automatic notification that bugs them. So that could be part of the process. But after the process is complete and it's implemented, we also make sure that you're trained on the process, so that all of your folks understand the new process, and we give you documentation for that process, the how-to for you to be able to change the process if you need, because there's a lot of clients that we have that prefer us to just do their IT for them. But if you needed it, provide that type of documentation. But we definitely provide the documentation for how your users are going to use it, what they should expect from every step going forward, so that they get comfortable with the process. And if anything happens where they don't understand what's going on, maybe they're new, they can always pull out the handout, the documentation, and get reacquainted.
Okay.
So that's some of the
Quite
ways.
a thorough and robust process too. Now let's talk about AI. AI is a big thing right now for any organization. How is NTC Tech integrating AI into its service offerings, and what benefits have clients seen from these implementations?
Okay. Well, there's lots of different implementations of AI. We are a Microsoft shop, so for the most part, so we use Microsoft Copilot. That's what we generally suggest for our clients who are on Office 365 or Microsoft 365. There's a whole journey before we go turn on that AI, though, because some people don't realize this. Yes, it's a plug and play kind of thing, but if you just turn it on and your data is not secure, it's not properly access controlled, things of that nature. Ijama over in on the tech team somewhere can say, how much does Sigu make that works over in HR? Just because I'm curious. And the system will give them that information back if that information is in your system and it's not properly secured or access controlled. So where people can see great benefit from AI, and I'll talk about those benefits in a minute, I do want to put a word of caution in that you do need to make sure that your systems are optimized for AI before you implement AI on top, especially if your employees under the leadership level are going to be accessing it. But the way it helps benefit, it helps leaders by helping them pull together documentation. So I'm talking about Copilot, Microsoft Copilot AI. I can talk about other AIs too, but I'm going to stick to this one for right now. Because Microsoft Copilot for M365, which is the one most people want, it works with Microsoft 365 and the Office products within Microsoft 365, which is what most people want. So say, for example, you are a leader that's putting together a proposal. you have previous proposals that you already know might be a good fit, but you're trying to pull in documentation also from the SAL that you've already put together, maybe, some other plans that are relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, like, get in a Word document and say, please create me a plan or whatever it is that you're trying to create using these documents, and actually have it pull in the documents that that SAL, the plans, the whatever the initial discovery, all of that documentation can be pulled in, and then the AI will kind of crunch it and then try to come up with whatever it is that you asked it for. Like if you ask it for like another plan, like a
Right.
technical development design planner, or a schedule for a project timeline, things like
Right.
that. It will do its best to put it together, and it usually does a fairly good job. Um, Same thing for those people who are information workers,
Mm-hmm.
who may be writing proposals, who may be putting together technical design documents, who may be putting together how-tos for whatever the documentation is.
Mm-hmm.
If they have previous documentation that's internal to the organization, they can have the AI pull it in, as well as have the AI pull in stuff from the outside world. So it
Mm-hmm.
can be very beneficial, as in it can cut your time down by a lot. But another word of caution, because I see a lot of organizations do this, they think just because they have Copilot or whatever other AI it is, that they can just get rid of all these people. You cannot
Oh,
do that. I must
yeah.
stress, do not do that. When you do that, you may think that, oh, I can fold all 5 jobs into one person. First of all, you stress
Mm-hmm.
that one person out beyond belief. They're going to leave. You're going to have bad employee retention. Secondly, that person might not have the industry knowledge that might be needed to actually read over and review everything that the AI gives you back. Just because the AI gives you something back based
Doesn't
on
mean it's accurate.
is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. There's been a many a time, and it hasn't been huge, but there have been times where I would read over something and I'm like, that is wrong as heck. Um, so you need the person who has that knowledge to be able to ask the AI the appropriate questions in the right way to get out the appropriate response. And
Yes.
then that person needs to apply that experience and knowledge to review what the AI spit out to make sure it's right, and to add whenever needs to be added or taken away, because something might be inappropriate that's in there for this
Mm-hmm.
point and juncture in the process. There may be something that it missed that you need to make sure you add. So you
Yeah.
still need those people, even if you get the AI. Now, when the
And
AI helps, it helps you with employee retention, because
mm-hmm.
people can be happier when they can complete their stuff more quickly and in
Yeah.
more detail. That makes them more happy. Um, it also can make them less stressed when they're not trying to, beat this deadline and they got 50 billion things. If the AI can help them, it'll make them less stressed. So it definitely helps with productivity, but it also helps with employee retention if you do it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you are a strong proponent of DEIB. How do you incorporate these principles into your work at NTC Tech and the tech industry as a whole?
Well, for us, since the diversity, inclusion, and equity and belonging, um, a lot focuses on um, the diversity, which happens to be the minorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Minorities, which happen to be, us, not on the
Yeah.
world scale, but in certain places, we are the minority. Actually, on the global scale, we are becoming like almost the majority, but not the majority. We're almost a third or a fourth of the world's population. So we're not the minority, but in certain places we are the minority. So in, like, say for example, our business, um, right now all of our folks are Africans. Even, our internal folks, which is our company internal executive team. We have one Ghanaian, and the rest is my husband, which is my co-CEO, my oldest two daughters, who are our CMO and our director of design,
Mm-hmm.
and also of social media. So we are hiring from our tech team is hired from Ghana. So all of our folks that are on our tech team are all Ghanaian. Now, the thing that we're trying to make sure that we become a little bit more focused on, not to say that we're not focused on it now, is the male versus female thing.
Yes.
Trying to get more females in, but on the African landscape, it's a little bit more challenging because the numbers are even more skewed on the female side. But we are trying to be very intentional about hiring females where we can. And that, again, requires intention, because, the couple of people that we've hired so far, they've both been male. Well, the three people we've hired so far, all three of them are males.
Okay.
But we took in resumes to make sure, because I was like, I need chicks, I need ladies, I need those ladies, I need them. So we made sure we had those resumes, and we did, of course, our due diligence. And there's a couple of ladies I will be coming back to. They just weren't right for that position. But yeah, we believe in being intentional. You have to be intentional.
I love it. So let's finish off, if you can share a few success stories where NTC's tech solutions significantly transformed an organization's operational or productivity.
Okay, we have a few. So I'm just going to pick three, not going to really give them names. I'm just going to kind of call them customer A, customer B, customer C.
Yeah.
But they are real customers. I just haven't gotten the okay to divulge on in public. But anyway, one of them, they are a Microsoft shop just like us. They do SharePoint and Office 365 development just like us. Their problem is, though, that most of their people are out on assignment. So anytime anything needs to happen in their internal environment, it kind of goes by the wayside for a while.
Right.
Now it's gotten to the point where so much stuff had built up that they were just like, okay, I know we're the ones that do this, but we need to find somebody else. Yeah. So they're one of our partners. So they talked to us about doing their redesign for their SharePoint, as well as we added a bunch of functionality in. So they have apps for employee onboarding, for time off requests, for handbook sign-offs and acknowledgments now, for getting swag from the company, for giving permission for social media or birthday acknowledgement, things like that. So we built in a whole lot. Not only did we redesign their sites in SharePoint, which they love, they like the new look and feel. They also got more functionality and business process, as well as apps built into their solution, into their tenant, to help them speed up their business processes and make it a little bit more inviting for their people who are off-site, off the end onto customer site, make them want to come to the internal site. One, because it's more inviting, but two, because there's more stuff there and it's more informational and there's more things they can do. So that's, there was another customer that we did basically all training for. The only thing, their problem was they had Office 365. They did not know what they had. So they realized later that they were buying things they shouldn't have bought. Like they bought Zoom, they had Teams. They didn't know that. They weren't using it.
Right.
We bought Basecamp, but they have SharePoint. So we went in and we not only did a training for their leadership where we did an overview. This is everything that you have in the Office 365 suite. These are the things you can get rid of because they're already covered with these things.
Mm-hmm.
Came behind that with end user training. They their end users, so they could see what some of the things they had at their disposal, with some of the potential that they could use out of the
Mm-hmm.
system. And then we also had administrator training, where there was a few people that were going to actually keep control of the system from day to day. So we trained
Right.
them on how the system works from an administrator level, so that they can efficiently and correctly administer the system. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about is another partner, but they're a different partner. Where the first partner was one that did the same work that we did. Their partner that's complementary. They're what's called a managed service provider partner. So
Okay.
they also do Office 365 and Microsoft 365 stuff, but they tend to do more endpoints and deeper security and things like that. They don't build solutions, they don't build apps, things like that. So
Fine.
one, we helped them with their internal stuff, because it was kind of, a little messy, not knowing what they had available to them at a full capacity, because that was not their billywig, not the thing that they
Right.
normally day to day. Building out their site so that when they get customers, they could show it off, because we're also partners with them, where we work with their customers and build things for their customers. So we've actually given a bunch of uh, let's see, proposals, solution plans, and things like that for their clients. But they also
Okay.
want a place to be able to demo. So when they get new clients or a client that's interested, they could say, "Hey, here's a spot. You can look at this stuff," instead of, "Well, it kind of looks like this, and I'm trying to explain it with words, but you might not get the picture, because words, a picture is worth 1,000 words."
So true. Oh, this has been absolutely wonderful talking to you. Now, the website is probably the best place where people can find you online.
Yes, yes.
So I have your website at the bottom of the screen. And what else would you like our listeners to know? How are the other ways they can contact you?
Well, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you just look for Nikkia, Nikkia Carter. I'm the only one. But that also /Nikkia T Carter will get you to my profile. We also have a technical user group community called a Nancy Tech. Now it's based in Ghana, because that's where our tech team is, but it's open to all. So if you'd like to learn more tech, or come check us out, you can come check us out there as well. You can find more information about that on my LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today.
Thanks for
Looking
having
forward to
me.
seeing how we can support you in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this and appreciate your time.
And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is a platform that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, inspire you, energize you, and empower you. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again, Nikkia. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.